Thank you for listening to me talk for the next few minutes. And by the end of this video, hopefully I can give you a clear picture of what to say and what not to say during the job interview as an employer. A few years ago, I had this privilege of representing one client. His name is Sam. He was a very successful business person and owns a 40-unit apartment here in Orange County. One day, one prospective tenant called them about the availability of the apartment. And during the conversation, she told the manager that her son had problem getting up the stairs. The apartment manager proceeded and asked her, "Oh, what's wrong? Is your son okay?" Now, this question started off as a genuine concern from one human being to another. It was a very innocent question, but yet it was being perceived as the landlord had the discriminatory intent. The lawsuit followed soon after that. And as we've been hearing for the last few weeks, the economy is booming. Yesterday I saw this blog article about the employers have hard time filling up the positions. And today I saw a news saying that the U.S. filled in about 213,000 jobs and is beating the expectations. That's right. The economy now is better than before, and as a result, we are in a process now seeing a lot of employers and business owners interviewing or hiring additional staff to meet the demand to expand their business. So during the interview process, I think it's important to know what to say and what not to say so that your question will not be interpreted as a discriminatory. Now, before we go into 8 questions as an example, let me tell you briefly about what you cannot ask the job candidates when they apply for a position. You cannot ask them where they live. You cannot ask them for their age, their arrest record, their national origin, credit history, family status, financial status, marital status, pregnancy, racial color, religion, gender, and sexual orientation. And the 8 questions that I'm gonna show you just in a few minutes has something in common. Number one, all 8 questions, they are vague in a sense that they are open to misinterpretation. And potentially they can be misinterpreted that you are seeking indirectly about information that is specifically prohibited by law. The categories that I just mentioned, right? So let's go over what they are. By the way, they are just the way of examples. There are many ways that we can, or the employer can ask the same thing. So this is just the example, okay? Number one, what part of town do you live in? And this one, particularly if you ask, it might be misinterpreted that you are trying to find out which part of town with certain socioeconomic status or concentration of specific ethnic group. 2, what class were you in high school, right? That's another way of trying to find out how old they are, whether or not your intention was innocent or not. It has a chance of being misinterpreted. 3, being a startup company, we hire a lot of younger managers. Do you have a problem with that? Again, the intention may be innocent, but it might be misinterpreted that you are trying to find out how old they are. 4, when was the last time you used drugs? And same thing as 5. Have you ever been, or have you ever had a brush with law? Okay, you might be interpreted as trying to figure out they have any criminal record. Hey, number 6. Hey, I hear an accent. Where you from? 7. How many kids do you have? 8. What are you currently making? Right now, the next question you might ask. So Tony, if I cannot ask all these questions, what can I ask and what can I do? See, if this is a live training and workshop that I put out, I would ask you to start drafting questions that you want to ask your potential job candidates. Okay, or if you have one, I'll ask you to start reviewing them, whether or not there's a potential for misinterpretation or misunderstanding. But obviously we cannot do that in this session. So that's what I want to ask you to do at your own time, is to find out or take out the questions to read them and see, is this specific enough, or is this too vague that is open to interpretation and potentially might be misunderstood or misinterpreted. One way to avoid that problem is that to have a standard question prepared in advance. And what I mean standard question is, you want to have a set of questions that you're going to ask the same to each and every job applicants. Okay, so for example, you can have 10 to 15 questions you can ask to all applicants, and then you can have 10 or 15 questions, supplemental questions that pertaining to different groups like engineer, manager, administrative staff, things like that. Advantage of that is that, number 1, you will have advanced planning. Number 2, you will have avoid the argument later on that you ask one set of questions to this group and different set of questions to different group. Therefore, you have a different treatment between different groups. The other recommendation I would give you is, during the interview process, avoid giving out or engage in small talk. Only focus on the jobs, the tasks, the description of what you want them to do. That way that you will not go on tangents and ask, how is their family, or try to be friend with them. Once we start moving to that direction of small talk, we starting to ask little bit more about their background, about themselves, about their family, about their children, things like that. You can do that once they are hired, and if you like them, you can do that after business hours, preferably, so that you can know them a little bit more better. After you build some trust with this person. During the interview process, when you are face to face with strangers, almost, it's better not to ask those type of questions during the small talk. And avoid small talk can really avoid you to get into that area that you might be or your intent might be. The other thing is that what you want to watch out for during the interview process is you want to avoid giving out promises that you never thought about before. For example, if there's a job applicant that you really like, you see a lot of potential, and when you try to entice them, you try to swing up the deal by saying, if you stay here for 2 or 3 years, we're just starting out, this is all we can give you right now, but if you stay with us for 2 or 3 years, we might provide you a bigger bonus, profit sharing, for example. Those kind of things, once the promise is being made, and if the applicant thought that you are promising certain things, if they are stay there for 2-3 years, and that might become a binding contract, and you might end up having problem 2 or 3 years down the road when they approach you and asking you for the bonus, for example. Okay, so that's something that you need to watch out for as well. Hopefully, I have answered your questions. And if you do have further questions about this area, give us a call. We are the fractional in-house counsel for many businesses here in LA and Orange County, and we love and ready to help.